What if hiring could be easier, more streamlined, and less time-consuming, so even when you're busy, you could still be smart about the way you hire? With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click, so you can rest easy knowing your job is being seen by the right candidates. Then, ZipRecruiter puts its smart matching technology to work, actively notifying qualified candidates about your job within minutes of posting so you receive the best possible matches. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you, it finds them. And it's no wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, it's the smartest way to hire. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by growing businesses of all sizes and industries to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, my listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That is right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/M&M. That's ZipRecruiter.com/M&M. One more time to try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/M&M.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Here we are, Mike and Mike, all that and more. On the menu this morning, we are presented by Progressive Insurance. Jon Gruden, Kirk Herbstreit, back-to-back in this hour. Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Chris Singleton still to come. Charles Barkley still to come. Baseball, basketball, football, so much going on. Twitter reaction, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Jen P. tweets at us, guys, remember, ratings are also down because some people are boycotting that Colin Kaepernick isn't in the league. So you have people who aren't watching because they don't like the protest, and you have people who aren't watching because they don't like that Kaepernick isn't in the league. And so that's the problem. The NFL really is between the rock and the hard place, and they're trying to figure out a way out of it.
Yeah, they are. And I think that the first way is I do believe they believe more are of those two groups we're talking about. More is because people are kneeling for the anthem. But, you know, you'd like to solve both things. But, again, Roger Goodell isn't going to go to an owner and say, hey, sign Colin Kaepernick, who, by the way, is suing, or is going after the league.
Bob tweets, the Bulls take tanking to a whole new level with a starter getting a broken jaw. We didn't even get to that.
We didn't.
In the first hour. But Mirotic has a broken face from a fight in practice the day before the season begins. That's a new one. I mean, I've heard a lot of things. I haven't heard that.
Not too new. How about your Jets?
Oh, good point. Good point. How about me? I forgot about Geno Smith, got a broken jaw.
Over a money issue, as opposed to, I don't know but this seemed to be, during practice.
Yeah, they were apparently trash-talking during practice.
Right,
and they got Mirotic was sort of going at him, and then Portis swung.
Sucker punch, and that's it.
Next thing you know, he's having facial surgery.
What did he say? A 2-year, $24 million deal, I believe.
He's like the only player on the whole team that you pay attention to.
That's a tough. You want to talk about another tough way to start the season? Yeah. So disciplining one and the other not playing.
All right. So we have all those things going on. You're going to hear, by the way, from all the Baseball Tonight crew on the Yankees and the Astros and the Cubs and the Dodgers and everything else coming up in a few minutes, but it's time for Jon Gruden here, and that means it's time for the song. And what has basically happened is the crew has just decided they're not taking any chances.
See, I wasn't here last week, and it didn't go well.
Did not go well.
Yeah,
it was. I would phrase it as almost bordering on a disaster last week. So now they're just taking the easy way out.
Yeah,
Jon Gruden. It seems they've basically decided they're just going to play Van Halen and not worry about it anymore.
Well, that has me thinking of the ninth grade season. That was hot for teacher, I believe, right? I had a beautiful biology teacher.
Okay.
We are so happy we can make you relive those memories.
Phenomenal. That
was a great one. That was a great song.
No question about it. So from the highs to the lows, let's start with one of the worst things that can happen to a team in any sport. And, John, you were a coach for a really long time, and we've seen it happen now in the last 4 days to two very high-profile players in two sports. We saw Aaron Rodgers go down with a broken collarbone over the weekend, and then last night, I'm sure you've seen the video of it. It's just a gruesome-looking injury that happened to Gordon Hayward of the Celtics 5 minutes into their season. So now you're the coach, and you got to stand up there in front of your team, and then you got to go and meet with your staff, and you got to figure out, okay, what do we do now? We've just lost someone that we had built everything around, in the case of the Packers, certainly, and with the Celtics as well. So can you give us that? What do you say to your team? And then in a private moment, what are you discussing with your staff and everybody else about how you pick up the pieces after a devastating injury to your season?
Well, it's sickening. I mean, you have to obviously recognize that it's going to be hard to overcome, and it's sickening. And what we're going to do is we're going to be there for Aaron Rodgers and Gordon Hayward. We're going to show him a lot of support and love and try to help him along in his rehab. And we're going to keep him a part of our program. He's going to help us behind the scenes, and we're either going to do one of two things. We're going to quit and we're going to go home like a lot of people expect us to, or we're going to rise above this. We're going to find a way to find, the will inside of every man to pick up their play, and we're going to do something that is unbelievably great. And adversity strikes everyone in some way, shape, or form, and this is a great opportunity for Green Bay and the Boston Celtics to really show the world what they're made of. But it's going to be a great challenge, obviously, but that's all you can do. Pick up the pieces and move on.
So let me just take it, just before we move on from this, one step further. That's what you tell the media. That's certainly what you tell your team. You're in with your coaches, you tell them. But then you go home, and you're by yourself. You still have that same thought process, or does it go a little deeper than that?
You know what, Mike? You're not going to get over losing a superstar player, but Brett Hundley's he's been there, and you got to invest yourself in the next guy up. You really do. I remember we lost our quarterback, and it was tough. It wasn't Aaron Rodgers, but we lost a good player, a very good player, and you got to invest yourself in the next guy that goes in there, and you really don't know what's going to happen. I don't think anybody ever thought they were going to replace Brett Favre, but they invested themselves in Aaron Rodgers, and look what happened. And that's the same thing can be said for Kurt Warner. When Trent Green went down, what did Dick Vermeil do? Did he, go jump off a cliff? No, he invested himself in Kurt Warner, and look what happened. So I'm not saying it's going to be Kurt Warner, but you have to invest yourself in the next guy up, and I really believe Mike McCarthy's going to do that.
All right, Mike and Jon Gruden. So let's go to some of the games here. You had Tennessee and Indianapolis this past weekend past Monday, in what is an interesting division where it's kind of tough to figure any of these teams. The Colts are still without Andrew Luck, and they feel as though they're at the bottom of that group. But Tennessee with Mariota back, they look good, and Houston with the rookie quarterback looks really good, and Jacksonville's got a really good defense, and they can run the ball with Fournette. So who are you buying in the AFC South? As you look in that division, which team do you say, as the season goes on, they're going to be the team to beat, and they're the team that could make it interesting for everybody in the AFC?
That division is like a lot of others right now. It's hard to say, but I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans. I picked them at the beginning of the season because Marcus Mariota's in his third season. I really like the way they play offense. They can smash you. They got a good running game. They've got a couple good backs. Corey Davis is a name you need to remember, Mike. He's their fifth pick in the draft. He hasn't really played much. He's been hurt, but he's about to come back. And this young man is a difference maker at wide receiver. So I like them on offense. I think defensively they can rush the passer. And I think their secondary will only improve because Dick LeBeau knows how to protect them. But every week it's an eye-opening exchange. I saw Jacksonville get crushed by Tennessee. I saw Tennessee get crushed by Houston. I saw Jacksonville crush Houston. So it's like, it's like a game show, the AFC South right now.
It is strange. But let's talk for a moment about Mariota. I remember you loved him coming out of the draft. I remember you were with us on our set talking about him. And I was interested to see what he would do without his mobility, coming back from the hamstring, having to do it basically all from the pocket. And at least for Monday night, he did that successfully. What are you seeing right now in Marcus Mariota's development?
I think this game is going to go a long way in his career because he knows now I can sit there, go through my progressions, trust my offensive line, and get to my second and third option and function without having to roll. I don't have to put it down and roll all the time. I can stay in the pocket and play a conventional style of quarterback. I bumped into Jameis Winston last night at dinner in a restaurant here in Tampa, and he was really, I think, impressed with what he saw from Mariota. And it just goes to show you, sometimes when things get tough, you can find other ways to win and function, and I really think that's going to go a long way in his development.
Did Jameis happen to mention how his shoulder's doing?
Yeah, he did. He certainly did. He said he's feeling better, and hopefully he can give it a go against Buffalo.
All right, looking to this Monday night, Washington at Philadelphia. And John, I feel like we have a good snapshot of the personality and the playing of the Philadelphia Eagles right now. But your brother's team, Jay's team in Washington, I'm still trying to get a handle on. So if you could go into them a little bit between Cousins, the different running backs that are getting carries. You have 6 different receivers in the teens and catches, no one with more than 18. Jonathan Allen's going to miss some time on that D-line. Maybe you get Josh Norman back. I'm having a hard time kind of grasping on to Washington and just what their personality is at this point.
Yeah, so am I, Mike, and they also lost their kicker, so they're going to use a kicker that hasn't kicked in a regular season game also. Obviously, they're waiting for Terrell Pryor, Josh Dotson, these young receivers to really explode onto the scene, and their running game is as good as they are up front. They really don't have a first and second down back that has taken off. Rob Kelly's injury has been a problem for them. P. Ryan, the rookie out of Oklahoma, has struggled with ball security, and I think that's an issue. Who is going to be the feature back for the Washington Redskins? They want to run the football and feature, I think, their best player, which is Trent Williams, and perhaps Brandon Sheriff at right guard. But they're looking for an identity. They're moving the ball. They're putting points on the board. But with Josh Norman out, Jonathan Allen out, a new field goal kicker, and a bunch of injured players in the secondary, it's going to be a challenge. Because Philadelphia is rushing the passer like you guys did when you played, Mike. They are savages, man. They are coming.
They're really good. The Eagles are really good. They did bank a win, by the way, in Washington week 1 of this season, so it becomes a critical game in that NFC East. Again, Washington-Philly this coming Monday night on ESPN. And so then that brings us to Carson Wentz. The numbers are jumping off the page. John, as you look at what he's doing here in his second year, particularly on third down, which is one of the true benchmarks for a young quarterback, what are you seeing as you're looking at the tape of Carson Wentz?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. They have some balance in this offense. They can run it. They're staying out of third in real long yardage situations. They've really upgraded their receiving core. They really have. Nelson Aguilar is a much better player now also, but, Jeffrey and Torrey Smith have come in here and really given them some play. And Zach Ertz is almost unstoppable in red zone and third down situations. They've got a lot of weapons, and Carson Wentz has developed. And most second-year players that stay in the same system show the most improvement, and that's been the case with Wentz. He is one tough customer.
Yeah, Las Vegas says with the injury to Aaron Rodgers, the Eagles are now the favorites to come out of the NFC this season. Jon Gruden again, Washington and Philly this coming Monday night. We'll see you there. Thank you, John.
All right, guys, have a great week.
Thanks, Jon Gruden with us. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive is celebrating 5 years and more than 500 cars donated to vets. To learn more, visit keystoprogress.com.
I really am with Washington trying to figure that. I know they want Terrell Pryor to be that number one guy. Again, 18 catches. Thompson has 18 as well. So a lot of guys splitting it. 2 guys to watch is this Chris Thompson. This running back who's getting more and more carries, but he's catching the ball in the backfield as well. Not a big guy, 5'8", about 190 pounds, but he's something to watch, both running the ball and catching the ball in the backfield. And you want to watch an animal up front. This kid, Brandon Sheriff, is just a 320-pound right guard. He's old school. He goes back to not just trying to block you, he tries to destroy you. And he's getting some flags for it because they don't like – all of a sudden, they don't like when an offensive lineman blocks somebody actually to the ground anymore. It's like they want to throw a flag. This dude hits you, and then if you think about getting up, he hits you again. I mean, he is really, really a fun guy to watch. And I think Gruden will have a ball highlighting him if he's making some plays out there. But what a matchup against him on the interior. Fletcher Cox is taking good guards and centers in this league and just disposing of them with what he's doing on defense. That defense is playing extremely well. So, as I said, Philly, I really kind of have a good identity and good feel for. Washington, I'm still trying to figure that out. But watch Chris Thompson, something to watch in their backfield.
Look, the Eagles can open up a cushion in the NFC East if they win this game. At this point, the Cowboys already have 3 losses. The Giants are hopelessly out of it.
Yep.
So if they hand Washington their third loss and they're sitting at 6-1 and they will have swept the season series from the Skins, they will be looking really, really good. So big game coming up Monday night. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. All right, jumping around. Again, back to the baseball here. Yankees looked dead last night. They looked dead after a crazy sixth inning in which they give up a walk, a catcher's interference, and another walk. So on the night, the Astros have a total of 1 hit. There are no balls put in play to that point in the inning. And the base is loaded. Girardi goes and brings in David Robertson, a smash up the left field line. It's 3 runs, and there's another error. Now it's 4-0 Astros with Keuchel and Verlander coming around the bend, and I'm thinking it's over.
It's over. Oh, absolutely. If Houston, and that's what they were talking about, the announcers on the game last night, the exact same thing. They get out of this one with Keuchel and Verlander around the corner. I mean, one will probably be able to get saved for the World Series because you probably only would need Keuchel in that one to close it out. But, credit to the Yankees. I mean, down 2-0 against the Indians. They come back down 2-0 in this one, and it's even up 2 apiece, so you got to give them credit. They're getting the runs when they need them.
And here's what it comes down to, and I know that Robertson gave up the big hit yesterday. The runs aren't all credited to him, but the difference is that the Yankees are strong. Everyone talks about all the home runs they hit, and that is, of course, accurate. They hit a lot of home runs, especially in their own ballpark. But the Yankees are strongest right now in the area that has become the most important thing in the sport. And that is starting pitchers are, Verlander, look, God bless him. I mean, they gave him the ball on Saturday and he never gave it back.
Right.
And maybe Keuchel will do that again. Right. And if that happens, then the Astros are going to win. But if this game gets into the bullpens, the Yankee advantage is overwhelming. And that was the difference last night. And that, I think, is the difference going forward. Can the Yankees get Keuchel out of the game and get into the pen? Because if they can, then the advantage shifts enormously in their direction. I've got some good sound bites on this. I got Mark Teixeira and David Ross last night on Baseball Tonight.
When you have the arms like they have, the Yankees have, when you can go Green and Robertson and Canley and then Chapman at the end, I mean, here's Green. These guys, when they get in the game, they expect to strike out everybody. I mean, that's a scary proposition for another team when it's like, hey, just to get the bat on the ball is an accomplishment for the Astros right now.
In Houston's case, how important in a Game 4 for the Yankees' psyche, and perhaps Houston's, that they not only got to the Astro bullpen, but the better pitchers in the Astro bullpen?
Well, no doubt, and I think that's why you haven't seen a whole lot of the Astros bullpen, is that's been their worry. These guys, I don't know whether it's the usage and not being sharp for not being used that much, but they did not look sharp today. Balls were up.
I mean, listen, because you give Houston credit. They got to Robertson, they got to Green for a run each last night, but the Houston bullpen gave up 5 of the 6 runs. So, I mean, that you're exactly right. And Keuchel, what does he have? 109 ERA against New York,
owned the Yankees,
including the postseason. I mean, it's ridiculous. But Tanaka's been throwing well, only 2 earned runs and 13 innings pitched in 2 postseason starts. But the whole thing is, you're correct. How long can Keuchel go? We saw what Verlander did. Can they get to that Astros bullpen?
Give me a quick prediction. Dallas Keuchel has faced 214 Yankee batters in his career and has not allowed a home run. Prediction. Will he allow a home run tonight? Will the Yankees hit a home run? It's going to be a nice night tonight.
Yes, it is.
At Yankee Stadium, the weather is warming up. Yesterday was brisk. Today's supposed to get warmer, and it gets warmer as the week goes on. Not that that matters, because this is the last game in the Bronx of this series. But will the Yankees hit a home run off of him tonight?
I'm going to say no.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think it's not going to happen. Yeah. The question is, can they get it? Can they keep
out?
it?
Yeah.
Can they scratch a run or 2 across somehow, some way, and have this game 2-2 in the 7th and get to the bullpen?
Yeah.
If that happens, I mean, this is going to sound like oversimplification. If that happens, I believe the Yankees will win. Yeah. And if it's 2-0 and Keuchel is just cruising like crazy into the 8th, then the Astros are going to go to the World Series. On the other side, the Dodgers have the Cubs now squarely behind the 8 ball. And despite the Schwarber home run early yesterday, the Cubs bats have still just not woken up in this series.
I'll say it again. What the Cubs have been doing, 0 for 11 and with runners in scoring position. 6 strikeouts there. Bryant Rizzo, 22 at bats, no RBIs. I mean, those guys aren't getting it done. The sticks aren't getting it done. Where the Yankees' late bats are waking up and getting it done.
All right. So again, both series continue today, and we'll have all the action for you right here on ESPN Radio. And then I wanted to reference this again briefly. Do we have the Ramona yet? Let me know, guys, when we have that ready, because Ramona Shelburne says that she talked to a Golden State official who told her, quote, "We may go full Spurs this season. Their job, meaning the players, is to be ready come June. If anyone has so much as a sore thumb, they're going to rest." Now, first and foremost, I don't know why anyone would be saying that.
I don't know why.
Why are you saying that? It's the start of the season. The whole focus is on getting guys out there on the floor and trying to cut into this.
It's just a bad job of saying that out loud. With whether you do it or not, I get it. It can still make it done. But saying it after all that's been talked about and done this offseason.
But then, Mike, I think we may have a solution to this problem.
Okay.
Because for the first time this morning in the last break, I just opened up my mentions. You see what people are saying to us on Twitter after what was a very busy first hour. And I have a tweet here from Cray Romano. Cray. Who tweets? Cray. He just tweets at me. "My friend and I have the answer to the NBA's regular season schedule." And that's it. He writes nothing further. That could be a great tease. But, Mike, what are the chances? What are the chances that this guy who just tweeted that at me actually has the answer?
Zero.
How do we know? Is it a breach of our fiduciary responsibility if I do not at least write him back and say, please tell me what it is?
If he tweeted that, then I would imagine he's listening to the show.
That's all he tweeted.
Okay, so
25 minutes ago.
We're talking about his tweet right now.
Cray Romano.
We've used it as a tease, so I would say it's on him now to tweet how he could fix it.
And listen, bear in mind, he's got to be a smart guy because he describes himself as an Elvis lookalike.
Okay. Well, got that going for you.
That's what it says. And I don't happen to see it in his avatar, but I just thought that was a funny tweet. "My friend and I have the answer to the NBA's regular season schedule." Oh, really?
Yeah.
Please tell us.
Go further.
This is a multi-billion-dollar business that smartest people in the world are trying to figure out an answer to this problem. But Cray Romano, in one sentence, is trying to tell me, I got this, Greeny. I got this.
Cray, hit us.
But he's not giving me a hint, not a clue, not a crumb.
Well, maybe that was his whole thing, that you would talk about it, lead him into this, so let's see what he offers next.
It's a brilliant tease.
I agree.
Don't you think? And as the one who's, I consider I'm proud of my teasers.
You're very good at them. That's a really good one.
That's a really good one.
Now it's just a matter of when he teases it. I was just going to go with the tease of take you behind the scenes when we have a guest on. They give us a list of questions to kind of use as a guide. We sometimes use them, most times don't.
Sure.
That I was not going to ask this question to Jon Gruden because I thought it would be an insult to ask Jon Gruden this question, and I would have punched anybody who had asked this question. They wanted us to ask Jon Gruden, do you believe the NFL needs to protect quarterbacks even more than they do now? There's no way. And if you would have started to ask Jon Gruden that question, I'd have cut you off.
Okay.
Because it's a ridiculous question that shouldn't even be discussed anymore by anybody. It was fine. Leave it alone. Move on.
It was me who brought that up yesterday. I asked
what?
Booger that question. I asked
Did
Booger,
you really? I hope he threw a rib in your face.
He certainly was on your side of this debate. If indeed it can be described as a debate. Look, I made it very clear. I did not think that was a dirty hit.
Right.
It's debatable whether it should have been penalized or not based upon him landing on him, which you're not allowed to do now, whether it's physically impossible or not. And Booger was saying, did you want him to levitate over him? I get it, but it's still a penalty. But I'm not in any way saying it was a dirty hit, which some other people were saying.
Yeah, and they're wrong.
But what I am saying is that the sport is better when the good quarterbacks are playing. And I understand that they're football. So he started with it. Do you want them in red jerseys? And I said, no, not red jerseys, but maybe we could have them play with flags. That's what I said.
Flags.
I said, let's make it flag football. So it's tackle for everybody else. Yes. I wasn't going to go so far as two-hand touch, although I'd be open to having that conversation if you wanted to. But flags, I'm all in on.
Yeah.
I'm all in on flags for the quarterback.
Just the amazing thing, that exact same hit, if that were Clay Matthews landing on Case Keenum, there'd be zero discussion.
Well, we read that yesterday. But that was a tweet that we got yesterday.
I wasn't here.
That was a tweet. It said that Mike McCarthy would have said, well, that's football.
That's exactly right.
When instead he was, and of course you would, because when it happens to your guy, it's bad. Yeah. But all I'm saying is it is just inherently bad for the sport. This weekend it was going to, at Lambeau Field, it's New Orleans at Green Bay. It was Breeze against Rodgers. That's like a marquee. That's an awesome matchup. I
agree.
And now you don't get it.
Okay.
So is there a way of preventing that we're not currently doing?
No. You can't protect them anymore outside of putting a bubble around them.
I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, and I'm shutting you down.
And a lot of people did send me a lot of pictures of bubbles. So believe me, you're not the only one who feels that way. Okay, we are Mike and Mike.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All right, so on this extraordinarily busy day, one of the many things we have going is that we are heading into a college football weekend that has more good matchups, huge matchups, than any I can think of in quite some time. And as we bring Kirk Herbstreit in for his regular weekly visit, I want to start by giving Herbie credit. Because, Mike, a week ago today, you weren't here. Booger was with me, right. and I was asking him about Oklahoma losing to Iowa State, and he said, Herbie, I'll give you the floor and I'll give you the credit. He said, I guarantee you this weekend someone is going to lose that absolutely shouldn't, because it's just hard to get these kids ready to play every single week.
Boy, I'd say he hit the nail on the head.
Well, I mean, hit it on the head 5 times last weekend. So, Kirk Herbstreit, I give you the credit for that as we get it rolling this morning.
Well, I think every year when you see the weekends, at least in this sport, in college football, and you look for ranked versus ranked, and there just aren't any. Those are the weeks that I think coaches struggle the most. And, Mike, you've been in a locker room. You understand. It's just there's something that just happens to a team. When Penn State's playing Michigan, I guarantee you James Franklin's not having a hard time getting guys to come over to watch film. Jimmy Harbaugh's trying to get his guys to get locked in at practice or in the meeting. You think they're dialed in? Oh, my gosh. Oh, absolutely. They don't need any reminders. But when you're a 20-point favorite, it's just human nature. It's the stuff that Nick Saban's been talking about at the podium the last couple of weeks about how challenging it is to try to make guys try to be the best they can be every single week. And typically 18 to 22-year-old guys that play college football, they start to have a great year. They're ranked in the top 10. They look at their team that they're playing that they know they're better than. And it's not that they don't respect that opponent. It's just collectively, they just take that foot off the accelerator just a little bit, and there's Arizona State waiting to try to make their season to beat Washington. There's Syracuse trying to make their season by beating Clemson. That's their Super Bowl to play those teams and beat them. And in this case, we saw those two teams go down. We saw a number of upsets. Washington State, that was the one team that showed up flat, disinterested, just looked terrible, was Washington State. I thought Clemson lost to a very focused and well-coached Syracuse team. The same thing can be said about Washington late Saturday night when they got knocked off by Arizona State.
And Clemson did lose their quarterback in the game. We had Dino Babers on, the coach of Syracuse, who we all love the guy and what he's doing there.
Yeah.
And he had a big win last year against a ranked Virginia Tech team, and so trying to build off the win this year. So we'll see where it goes. And they play the U this week, so into the frying pan, into the fire, however the saying goes. Another tough game for them. As far as coming into this week, you're right. When it's ranked, you don't have to look past anything. And here we go. You guys are going to be at Penn State. I was hoping you guys would be at Notre Dame for USC, and I was hoping it would be my one chance to be the guest picker, celebrity picker, and try to get some picks now.
We got to make that happen.
But it's not going to happen now because you're going to Happy Valley, and I get it. So I've kind of, you and I disagreed a little bit on Michigan at the beginning of the year. And to me, they're still that shaky team. Certainly, they've lost a starting quarterback as well. I get it. So give us the rundown a bit on this game in Happy Valley against Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, Penn State, by the way, Penn State right now, how about them all the way up at number 2 in the country? Huge game this week with Michigan. Next week, Ohio State on the road. And everybody remembers the story from last year when they beat Ohio State, won the Big Ten championship. Got left out of the playoff. They get a chance to avenge that. They got to go to Columbus, a team that's been probably the hottest team in the country the last 4 or 5 weeks against inferior competition. And then after that, they play Michigan State, who's maybe the most physical team in the Big Ten. So these next 3 weeks for Penn State, it's the style of football they're going up against. If they survive the gauntlet of Michigan, Ohio State, and Michigan State, they will have earned anything and everything that they receive. And if Saquon Barkley is able to kind of have some games in these next 3 weeks, you can all but hand him the Heisman Trophy because of the stages that he's going to be on in these next three games. But the matchup to me, yeah, it's one of these games. It's a rivalry game. It's big brands against each other, big stage, ABC Saturday night. This is typically where Jim Harbaugh has a card or two up his sleeve offensively that you really didn't anticipate or you didn't expect. Just when it looks like, oh man, John O'Korn, they can't complete a pass, they're not running the ball the way they should. There's no chance they can go to Happy Valley. That's when you need to be head on a swivel, because I'm telling you, it would not surprise me at all to see him come up with a game plan and an approach that's a little bit different, not crazy different, but just enough to be able to give them some success. And then I think the challenge of the weekend, guys, is going to be Saquon Barkley and Trace McSorley and all those weapons at receiver and the tight end Gesicki against Don Brown's defense, where they blitz, but when they come off the butts, they're blitzing. They're in your face. They're attacking the line of scrimmage. That will be as good as there is for TV to watch all that firepower for Penn State's offense against the scheme and the athletes of the Michigan defense.
It's a huge game, and again, College Game Day will be there, and then the game is primetime Saturday night on ABC. And Michigan, I mean, their schedule is just brutal. They still have 3 games left, including this one against teams that are ranked top 6 in the country. Then let's get to the other game that Golick was talking about, because USC Notre Dame, which is always a great rivalry, has extraordinary significance now. USC trying to play its way back into some sort of national picture.
Well, losers out. I mean, let's
losers
be
out.
I think losers out.
Losers out, and winners kind of in. Right? So let's handicap this one a little bit, Herbie, because if you look at the games that Notre Dame has in front of them, you know, the winner of this game, particularly if it is the Irish, I think have a really good chance to wind up in that Final Four.
Yeah, a couple things. If you ask the average college football fan, what do you think of USC's season they're having so far? What do you think USC's record is right now? I don't think a lot of people would say 6-1.
Yeah.
You might get some 4-2s, 5-2. There's no way they're 6-1. Because they had a close call against Texas, but again, found a way to win. They lost to Washington State, and then against Utah last week, Utah was going for 2 late to try to win the game, and they survived that. So here they are sitting at 6-1. They've got a ton of injuries, all the negativity. What's wrong with Sam Darnold? But yet they're 6-1 on their way to travel into South Bend. And Notre Dame is kind of feels the same way. I love this game. I always have. I'm one of these traditionalists that loves to watch USC and Notre Dame, and I just feel like, as you guys are saying, whoever wins this game, whoever emerges, will finally get invited to the party. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, there you are. Okay, you're allowed to come in. You can come on over. But right now, neither team's been invited to the party yet. You really don't hear much about them. They're ranking the SCs at I think, 11. Notre Dame's at 13. Mike, you mentioned whoever loses this is out as far as the playoff is concerned. If Notre Dame, and we just don't know enough yet about Notre Dame, 2 things about them. They lost to Georgia, who everybody's talking about is maybe as good as Alabama. They lost to them by 1 point. Mm-hmm. They beat Michigan State by 20 in East Lansing. Think about what Michigan State's become as a football team this year. So they've done some things that have shown us that they're not a bad team at all. They're at home against SC. If they win this game, look what they have in front of them. North Carolina State still to play, who's a top 15 team right now. They still have Miami to play down at Miami. They still have Stanford to play at the end of the year as a potential exclamation point. Without a conference championship game, they become that team. We've never had them in this discussion. If they run those teams that they have on their schedule, Notre Dame becomes a serious player for the playoff, but they got to get through SC first this weekend.
Totally agree. That's Kirk Herbstreit with us. Brought to you by Allstate. You can check out Herbie's podcast. Clay Helton is his guest. You can download and subscribe to the ESPN app, in the ESPN app and on Apple Podcasts, to Herbstreit and Fitzsimmons. Herbie, we'll see you this weekend. Should be fantastic. Thank you.
One last thing, guys. Real quick.
Sure.
I just can't figure out Dodgers, Astros. I'm an 80s National League guy.
Yeah.
It just sounds so weird that that's the World Series, you know?
It may not wind up happening.
Where that's just bizarre to me. But
that is.
In your childhood, they were in the same division.
Yeah.
They may wind up.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the Yankees might have something to say about it, but you're right. It does. It still does sound a little strange.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Herbie. See you at Penn State this weekend. Should be fantastic. And as we go to a quick break here, I've got a great trivia question for you. Great one. Hembo just sent me. No Googling. Don't look at it, Mike. You'll love this.
I haven't looked at it.
USC and Notre Dame this weekend will play. It will be the 33rd meeting all time in which both are ranked.
Okay.
There are only two rivalries, two matchups in college football history that have more ranked games in their history than USC Notre Dame. Can you guess those two? No Googling. I'm back with the answer in just a moment. Mike and Mike. All right, I've got the answer to the trivia question here, and Golick got it pretty quickly, and they are names that you would expect. And by the way, we'll be talking baseball right off the top of the hour, so 10 minutes from now, Chris Singleton will join us. He's doing Yankees-Astros for us on ESPN Radio. We'll go through all of that and all of the really horrible injury to Gordon Hayward yesterday and the punching in the face and the Bulls and everything else as we go. But the question was, with USC and Notre Dame getting set to meet this weekend, and it'll be the 33rd time they've met with both teams ranked, there are only two other rivalries, two other meetings or matchups of teams that have met more frequently as both teams being ranked, and the answers are?
The answers are Ohio State, Michigan.
That's number one. Ohio State and Michigan have met as ranked teams 44 times, and I would assume they will again this year. Now, Michigan, before they get to Ohio State, has Penn State this weekend, and they have to play Wisconsin.
They do, and they're sitting at number 19 right now.
If they were to lose both those games, they may not be ranked.
No, they won't be ranked. Let me just say, they will not be ranked.
Fair enough.
They lose them both.
So maybe they won't be. But either way, the point is, they've met as ranked teams 44 times.
The other is Oklahoma, Texas.
Correct. That's the other one. They've met as ranked teams 38 times. I would have guessed Nebraska, Oklahoma, because in our youth, that was the big game.
Yep.
I know Texas and Oklahoma consider each other their rival, but when I was growing up and first learning about and following college football, I felt like the Nebraska-Oklahoma game was for the championship that felt like every other year. So they've met as ranked 25 times. Ohio State and Michigan is the most, followed by Texas, Oklahoma, followed by USC and Notre Dame. Then after that, Miami and Florida State have met 26 times as ranked, same as LSU, Alabama. And then USC versus UCLA and Nebraska, Oklahoma would be next on the list. So those are by one standard of measure, those become the best rivalries in college football.
Two really good ones with Penn State, Michigan. Again, that's where College Game Day will be. That's my issue here is I'm going to the Notre Dame USC game, and I do have.
That's one thing I have on you.
What's that?
I have been the celebrity picker on College Game Day.
Yeah.
When they came to Evanston.
So bummed.
They had Wilbon and I come up there and pick, and so I was delighted to do it.
I was hoping they would go there. I understand them going to Michigan, Penn State. I get it. But I would have loved to have done that. But I'm going to be at that game. Now, the Wi-Fis they have in stadiums are a lot better now, so I'll probably be at that game, and I'll be able to watch the Michigan Penn State game as well. But the USC Notre Dame game, I didn't have a lot of great feeling for when the season started, the way USC finished last year, Sam Darnold, and the way he was playing, and I wasn't sure Notre Dame coming off the 4-win season, what was going to happen starting a new quarterback. But boy, oh boy, what a game this has turned into, and the meaning behind it.
I have a real issue now with the staff.
Why?
Because I said I was the celebrity picker at the Northwestern game when it was in Evanston, and they wrote on our screen.
Was Seth Meyers not available? I think it's a fair question.
Is that nice? Is that nice?
I think the point is, if Seth Meyers was available, he would have been chosen over you.
Well, evidently not. Evidently, Julia Louis-Dreyfus also wasn't available. Evidently, the never-ending list of famous people that went to Northwestern wasn't available.
The list of people at Northwestern that would have been chosen before you.
That's not, because we don't have enough time.
Okay.
We only have 2 hours and 8 minutes left in the show.
Right.
I'm not in the. I know I'm not in the list of the top 50 famous people. Stephen Colbert went to Northwestern. Rachel Nichols.
Randy Scott.
like the half this business went to Northwestern. The point has been made. I don't feel like we need to belabor a point that has already, in my view, been belabored.
Listen, there would at least be one or two that would be picked ahead of me at Notre Dame.
There's a lot of famous people that went to Notre Dame. I know. What is the overall list of Notre Dame versus Northwestern notable alumni? Which one is the more impressive?
Notable,
list?
you're saying alumni of anything.
Yeah, forget sports. Sports you're going to have, obviously.
Yeah.
But notable alumni.
I mean,
without any presidents?
Without looking at no, we don't.
We don't have any presidents either. We had vice presidents. We've had like very, very high-ranking people. We have a Supreme Court justice right now.
You know what? You know what we have? We have Regis.
You have Regis. Okay. You have Joe Montana.
Charlton Heston.
We had Charlton Heston. We have a lot of very good people, and I was the celebrity picker. We'll be right back.
A lot of people not available.